Hello, and welcome back to Star Wars Minute Presents The Book of Boba Fett. This is, I'm Pete the Retailer.
I'm Alex Robinson.
And this is Chapter 6. Book of Boba, Chapter 6. From the desert comes a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
From the desert comes a stranger.
I thought it was dessert.
I
was kind of disappointed.
That's right. It's, there's some kind of joke about a Cobb Vanth is a delicious dessert, I think. Or a cobbler Vanth. There you go. That's the joke I was looking for.
Vanth's cobbler.
It started out, I was a little bit hesitant because it's like previously on the Book of Boba Fett, and it's it just for a second, it's the stuff, I was like, is it going to be previously the stuff that I didn't like from last episode? Because it starts out with the armorer talking to the Mandalorian, and I was like, is this going to be more lore and more? But it was just here's the gift. Then we go to Cobb Vanth, and we revisit Mr. Cobb Vanth, the sheriff of Mos Pelgo.
This is I thought this was weird. It's weird that he goes here, and then later on he goes to see Grogu after this, right?
Yes.
So it's weird that he starts off on Tatooine, goes to a Jedi planet, and then comes all the way back to Tatooine.
Well, no. We don't get that. Is after we get Cobb Vanth with no Boba or no Mando first. This is just Cobb Vanth on his own, right? Doing the thing, because this is where he intercepts the Pike.
Oh, that's right. Because first is the Pike guy.
Right.
I forgot that the Mandalorian was not in that scene.
Right.
You're right. Correct.
Which, if I were me, sometimes I am, but if I were in charge of this show, I would have put this particular scene in like episode 1. Like this, like, hey, the Pikes are running rampant. They are causing a problem. They're trying to take over the planet with their spice trade, and it's affecting everybody. Put this little clip in episode 1, and then, we have all the time during most of the rest of the show. We've been like, why is Boba Fett doing this? So if you have a little bit of, if you add this context, like, okay, the Pikes and their syndicate are causing problems, and we got there at the end of the flashback arc a little bit, but if you had that being a problem, like, I would have liked to have seen this earlier, so it made more, it gives you an overall, like, okay, this is, the show is moving towards taking on the Pike Syndicate. Got it.
Yeah.
Throw this scene in, so you get a little bit of like, we might see Cobb Vanth again, and we might see, and we have the idea of the out of control Pike Syndicate is running things, and that's our motivation here for this season.
Yeah.
And I don't need to be spoon-fed, but I would have liked to seen a little tease of this early on, so then it's like, okay, I know where we're going.
It is interesting that we don't really see the Pikes doing much directly, do we? Like,
no, I don't think they do. I think they're basically like,
so we don't even get to see scenes of them like harassing farmers and like that stuff.
No.
Or for that matter, we don't even see like people who are the victims of spice, people whose lives are ruined by the spice, It's obviously just kind of a stand-in for generic drugs or whatever, but
right.
Anyway. But yes, so Cobb Vanth returning as we predicted a bit earlier on in the season. I like that he always looks like he just kind of like it's funny that in a world of Star Wars, where everyone is wearing all like cool, giant shoulder pads like Dash Rendar and stuff, and then Cobb Vanth always looks like he like rolled out of bed.
Yeah, he looks more just, I guess, because he's
not even wearing like a jacket or anything.
Yeah. He never fully recovered from losing his armor.
Yeah, he never quite got a new look out of it. He's just kind of wondering around what to do next. But always happy to see that actor whose name I can't recall.
Oliphant. Timothy Oliphant?
Timothy Oliphant from, of course, Deadwood and Justified and...
Timmy the Elephant.
The Elephant. I like his think it through kind of catchphrase.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and again, this is something we've seen a million times before, but it's within the it propels the plot. In this case, it's setting up a little bit of the it tells you why we're doing what we're doing to a certain extent.
Do you think this spice fueled storyline has anything to do with the fact that Dune came back and is big into spice? Like, we didn't see anything about spice.
We heard about it.
Most of Star Wars history. We never even saw it, and this is the first time. Actually, do we see it in Solo?
We see it in Solo, I think. Right? I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out when it comes out on digital or Blu-ray.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. I thought of Dune during this, because not only was the
Cara Dune.
Well, no, I try not to think of her. Well, the setup, the episode that we first went to Muspelga was very Dune inspired with the kind of
the worms.
Yeah. But then the spice itself looks even a little bit like the spice melange from Dune. It's like a cinnamon kind of aspect to it in this.
Yeah.
Cinnamon aspect. But the I like, because I had enough time to write down, like, wait a minute, like he sheriffs and shoots the pike who were trying to do their thing, and then he says, hey, if you just turn around and head out of here, like, we'll just chalk this up to you guys reading your map wrong. And then they pull a gun first, so he shoots them all except for the one who he says, okay, leave. And I was wondering why leave the spice and not why say leave the spice and why not say leave the money instead? It seems like the spice is that seems like more of a hassle to deal with, because then you got to find a reseller or something like that, or maybe he's addicted. I don't know. And then had enough time to think about that, write that, and then he just dumps it out because he's not. We see
he's very clumsy.
This is for later that he's he's actually, oh no, and he's there trying to snort the sand. He's like, no. I don't
know when to stop.
But yeah, no, it gives us a little bit of character behind him, that he's against this. He doesn't like the spice. Out of in not in context. What's the word I'm looking for? He doesn't like in principle, he's against the spice. He's opposed to the spice, not only as a business infringement, but he doesn't think it's a good,
not good stuff.
You've seen a lot of mob movies. There's always that. It's always a common thing from mob movies as they get into the kind of mid 20th century, that they're like, well, we do crimes, but like drugs, that's a whole different thing.
Dirty business.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to find out eventually. There's going to be a scene where we find out that his brother or something died from spice or something like that. Was killed by a Jedi who was addicted to spice.
Yeah, flashback to him like at home, and his, he's a single mom and she's addicted to spice, which is how he ends up. Yeah.
Gonna have to face
But then we get the title, From the Desert Comes a Stranger, which we'll find out what that means later on. When I keep wanting to call it When You Find a Stranger in the Alps, but that's not it.
I thought it was going to refer to your friend, the Tuscan princess. So, just for the record, that's who I was like. Oh,
I wish she was my friend.
Yes. So then we catch up with the titular Mandalorian.
Yes, not this title here. The elsewhere titular. The someone else's titular Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And nice thing that I like that I don't think we got much of in the Phantom Menace, but maybe it's just the different way that the ship is configured, but I really do like the interior cockpit noise of the Mandalorian's N1 starfighter.
Is that the
which is, I'm sure, how it'll be. Yeah, that's what the Lego will be called. or Din Djarin's N1 Starfighter.
It would be funny if they. I can't. Anyway, no, I was just if they gave it some very politically incorrect name. They always refer to it as Din Djarin's N1 Starfighter, but the real name of it would be something so horrible that no one would ever refer to it by that name on the show.
It's a regular Washington football team of a ship. But the
Sentinels.
But yeah, then he's flying it to go see his little friend, which, I mean, I guess that's what
you do.
That's what he was like, all right, I'll take the job, but I got to go visit my friend first.
How long do you think this is? How long has he been? Let's assume that he dropped him off at college.
Mm-hmm.
Is this now Thanksgiving time that he's going back? Is it Is it October? When is he? How long has it been since he's seen Grogu that he's like, I got to make a special trip to see him?
Well, remember, he's got a gift for him.
Right, but
he's got that pretext, that pretext of like, oh, okay, the armor turned the spear into a little shirt, which I called it little shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it I think it's like he's been wanting to, but he doesn't have any excuse to. But now that he's got the little shirt,
right,
he's like, oh, I got to bring him the little shirt.
But I also just speculating. I wonder how long
time-wise.
How long has it been since the season 2 of Mandalorian, the finale of season? How long ago was that?
It can't be that long, right? Because it's Boba's still getting his. Remember Boba Fett? He was that guy that was in. He was in the first couple of episodes of the book of Boba Fett. You might know.
Right. He looked like the Mandalorian, but
kind of, yeah.
More toy-y.
More toyetic. Yeah, it can't be that long. So it's probably It's probably like essentially maybe winter break. He's been there for a couple of months. Although, man, I don't know. Yeah. Tough to say how long, because like what's the progress of what they've been doing, and how did he know how to find him? Does he have the little bounty tracker on him still? Because he was looking on his thing, and he's got to like boop boop boop. Or did Luke give him like a
business card?
Yeah, because he's following that little kind of tracking thing, and then when he lands, we see that it's R2-D2. So maybe he texted Luke.
Yeah. And
Luke's texts go through R2-D2, and R2-D2 is just like, oh, okay. I'm Mr. Skywalker's personal assistant. If you want, we can. I think we can arrange something. His, I got
a bunch of androids coming in that day, but maybe we can squeeze you in the afternoon.
Right? Yeah.
I'm scheduled for a nap in the middle of the day. Maybe that'd be a perfect time for you two. Yeah, he goes to Jedi World. And he meets R2-D2.
Yeah, good to see R2-D2.
Yeah, it's a strange. It is good to see him. It's a strange job that he's doing, which is supervising the construction of a.
Right.
There's nothing these astromech droids cannot do.
They are a regular, veritable Swiss Army knife of a droid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good to see R2-D2, but it also it feels a little bit weird. Like, it almost feels like seeing R2-D2 on the Muppet Show, or like Sesame Street or something, where it's just like, oh, like, hey gang, it's R2-D2. Like, it's like he doesn't seem from this. It doesn't seem of this. It seems like a different thing.
Yeah.
But it's good to see him, and I like seeing titular Mandalorian and R2-D2 interact.
I like the ant droids, the ant construction droids. Those are pretty cool.
Especially there's a fake out when we first see them, because you see like he's talking to R2-D2, and then you see a rock, and you're like, you get a split second of being like, oh, they're doing Jedi business, like, oh, but no, it's a droid lifting a rock, and there's droids building a temple, and it's like, oh, okay, I like those droids. Back those droids. Yeah, my next note is construction droid show, because I could just watch that for a while. I really like seeing them do their thing.
Yeah.
And we get to see them do their thing for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But then, they set up a little nap station for the Mandalorian, and while he waits for Luke and Grogu, and then we get to see Luke and Grogu. Luke is training Grogu.
Well, for some reason, R2 shuts down in the middle of it.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have anything else to say, and he's not gonna. What is he gonna do? Sit there and make small talk with Mandalorian? He's gonna be like, so,
Well, I assume he's supposed
you
to be
ever have a problem with Rust?
I assume he's supposed to be supervising these droids. So is he such an introvert where rather than have to make awkward small talk with the Mandalorian, he's just like, you know what? I'm just going to turn off for a while.
Yeah.
Or pretend to turn off for a while, and then
I'm on break.
So I was wondering if this was the start of his coma that we see him emerge
I
from.
Thought that for a second too. Yeah.
The Disney era R2 is very prone to like napping and kind of nodding out. And, I'm just resting my eye.
He's an old man by this point. Yeah. Remember, he's been around. He was already around. You know, he's the oldest character we've seen, probably. I don't know.
Yeah. He fought in the Clone Wars. But yes, we see. Now, what is this? Is this a CGI Luke? Is this a?
Remember, this is what I said. I said Luke looks better. But he doesn't always look exactly like Luke, but he looks like a human being all the time. Which is good.
He does look like a human being all the time. To me, he never really looked or sounded like Mark Hamill. So I didn't know how involved Mark Hamill was.
He looked pretty close to 1985 Mark Hamill for me, or whatever the.
To me, he looked like he looked like the Disney theme park. Like
the guy running around and
the guy he's definitely a passable Luke. He definitely you can tell he's Luke Skywalker, but it wasn't like a deep fake. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how they did that. He just looked.
Well, I think it is deep. I think remember they hired the guy that when they did the last episode of Mandalorian, and then immediately somebody on the internet was just like, that Luke looked weird. Here's a better Luke, and they did, they pasted in, they redid it with a deep fake Luke.
Yeah.
That looked better. Then ILM hired that guy. They're like, we need that. Come here. And so I'm assuming that he had something to do with this because they do, extended time. Like Luke gets a lot of screen time and looks like a person for most of it. I'm like, oh, wow, well done.
Yeah, to me, I just seemed like they were just kind of like, this guy looks enough like Luke. We don't need to really do any. So maybe I can't tell.
Yeah, I think it's like a mid. They deep fake as much as possible, basically. And
so that was theoretically Mark Hamill saying the lines.
I think it was because it sounds weird.
Yeah.
For a lot of it, and I think the problem is that it's Mark Hamill, but they're digitally altering it to sound like young Mark Hamill. So it's modern, gravelly, awesome kind of old man Luke Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
But then they have to pitch it up to make it sound like 1985 Mark Hamill. You know what I mean?
It's just it doesn't strike you as silly in a kind of way that they're going putting this much effort into like.
It does. I mean? I don't know. It's tough because I do like
people are gonna cry and complain if it doesn't like I don't know.
Like my problem is that whatever process they're doing.
Yeah.
And it might not be the process. It might be I'm going to make a lot of enemies this episode, I feel like. Because I think a lot of my issues with I enjoy this episode quite a bit, but a lot of my issues with it, I think, come back to Dave Filoni. And I'm starting to turn into one of those super obnoxious people that are just no matter what you say about Star Wars, they say like Rian Johnson ruined that. I'm starting to turn into that bit with Dave Filoni, that every single thing I'm starting to pin it on him and being like, but like I'm not that bad yet. Don't worry.
Well, this episode definitely, if you have anti-Filoni feelings, this episode was definitely like a heaping and helping of Dave Filoni.
I am open-minded and I want to love him.
Yeah.
But then this I feel like the direction of this is the performance out of these actors is bad. They're good actors who can do this kind of a thing, and Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker is, he defines it. Like no matter what he does is Luke Skywalker, yet he ends up sounding stilted and I think it's just because I want to blame the processing partially, but then there's also Rosario is doing the same thing where it's this tilted kind of fantasy dialogue where like, I shall train him, I will bring him to this, nobody's talking like they're having a conversation. They're doing it like they have to get out this bit of exposition or whatever that they're like, it seems like out of a fantasy novel.
Yeah,
and not like people talking to each other.
Yeah, there was one part where Rosario Dawson was standing there, and she like turns, and then Luke goes, "Will I ever see you again?"
Right.
And I was like, that is such a fantasy thing to say. Like
well, it's a double down. Like I
don't know.
I doubly disliked that because it's fantasy novel dialogue, which is also like she might as well have said like, maybe you'll see me again in Ahsoka coming to Disney Plus, in 2022. Like it was totally just kind of like a setup for later things, and also poorly executed.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved seeing the scenes of, again, it's a weird, I have to have mixed feelings about this whole thing, because I liked pretty much everything I saw in this episode. I liked.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of good, like, I love seeing, I wanted to see what does that look like when Grogu is training with Yoda. I want to see, I like Cobb Vanth when he was on the first time. I like seeing that town. I like seeing Mos Pelgo. I like seeing other, new things that were created just for this.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing,
Yoda's lightsaber.
Well, yeah, I like seeing that too. Even though I hate it in Yoda's hands, I like it. I like the technicality of it.
I'll go on record as saying I did not care for seeing Grogu trained. Only because it's the same thing with seeing Yoda doing flips and stuff like that. It just like I feel like Baby Yoda works best when he's kind of a little zen, barely moving, kind of blank slate that you can kind of read whatever. So seeing him do lightsaber stuff, I mean, I know he doesn't really do lightsaber stuff in this episode, but you see him with the seeker ball. He's starting to do flips, and I was just like, oh, I don't like it. Anyway, but generally, like you said, though, I generally liked most of the stuff in this episode, and it's not like it was the end of the world seeing Grogu train, but
it does. I mean, and again, I'm not. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes? But it totally does seem like they didn't finish the assignment for creating a full season of Book of Boba Fett, and then they're like, oh, and then Luke Skywalker did this, and there's a whole like chunk of setup for other things, and we're watching The Mandalorian, we're watching Luke and Grogu, we're watching Ahsoka, we're watching all this other, but like it's like, oh wait, we were. I know, like theoretically, I'm enjoying this more than I would what was tying up the loose ends of Boba Fett, but like let's just finish the Boba Fett show before we do this other stuff. Like, you know what I mean? It's like a lingering. It's like, I don't know. It seems a little bit like, okay, well, what? I feel like we had a plot or something going on here. You know what I mean? And then
the show is only 7 episodes. So
I know,
two of them. I'm saying, but two of the 7 episodes. The titular Boba Fett was not even in it.
Well, he's in this one for like a minute at the end, saying like, okay, remember, here's the exact same speech that I gave at the end of episode 4. And so he's getting his crew together. Well, we'll get there.
I mean,
back up.
Like the mods have not really spoken a word other than saying, look, check out my cool eye.
Right.
So it's weird that now we have 2 episodes devoted to stuff. Like some of this time could have been used to flesh out more stuff in the Boba Fett part of it. But yeah, that's
right.
Basically.
Or, and
yeah. One thing I did like was when Luke says the
magic word, the secret word, and everybody starts screaming.
Well, he says, he does a Yoda quote. I think it's like try, do or do not, there is no try. And then he says like, Yoda said that. He always spoke in riddles. And to me that cracked me up because it was almost like Luke just, if Yoda said something that Luke didn't understand, Luke was just like, Yoda always speak. Use the Force. What does that even mean? Like, he's just kind of saying, Yoda's like, never in riddles did I speak. Oh, he's clear instructions, So, anyway, I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Like, does he mean he spoke in riddles because his grammar was wonky or because...
Yeah, I think...
He wasn't really like a parable kind of guy and giving you, like,
Oh,
I don't remember him giving any
That's
riddles.
what he said. Because when he was doing it, he was just like, he's like, you're small. Like, I knew somebody else who was small. And he's
was that a riddle?
Matters not. He always spoke in riddle. He talked like that. And it wasn't,
Very low bar for a riddle.
Yeah. I solved that one pretty quick.
What he meant was,
but yeah, I mean, it seems like it's part of him trying to kind of like coax out of Grogu.
Yeah, to me, it's just laying the groundwork for why Luke really is a bad teacher.
Right, which is consistent, and I don't think, I love this. I love Luke's arc still, which is what we're going to call this planet. No, Luke's arc being, like him being kind of, still Luke and trying to be the Jedi, the kind of the Jedi Master that he pictures he should be, but he's not quite yet, and him taking that on and all that. Like, I love that this is within that. Like, Luke should not be perfect at any time. You know what I mean? He shouldn't be this, like, majestic kind of stoic ruler, because he's got he doesn't fully know what he's doing, and he's trying to figure it out, and he's trying to project it. He's trying to be an image of what he thinks he should be, and it's great. It's part of what makes Luke awesome.
And he's got a lot of his father in him. Yeah,
which is a wasted opportunity for Ahsoka. Is like, so much like your father, and I wanted him to be like, that's what I'm afraid of. But he didn't.
That, to me, are we at that scene yet?
No, not yet. Let's back up. We had Luke talking with Grogu, Luke walking with Grogu, where he takes a couple of steps and then lifts him using the Force to move him like 10 feet ahead, and then keeps walking.
Did you like that? As a parent of a small child, I could see that being.
It's kind of like what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like instead of holding him and swinging him with your arm, like.
Yeah.
You take a couple of steps and then swing your kid forward and then take a couple. It's kind of like that. But he should have a better method than he does shortly. But, yeah, I torn, because I do like it as a parent of a small child, but also like it's Force creep again. It's just like casually just using the Force to do everyday things.
And then we get the fan service remote.
Yes. Oh wait, that's before or after the Force flashback? Because this is where he's talking about, like, because right after Luke walking Grogu, I didn't write down the remote, the fan service remote, which I like.
I had it in between Luke training Grogu and so much like your father.
Yeah. So it's somewhere in here, but I can't figure out. Oh no, I think that's after the backpack. I don't know. I wrote Force flashback mind meld, and I think that's before that. I think that's when he's talking. He's like, "Hey, do you remember anything?" Like, it was like, "Let me, like,
right,
open your mind, my mind."
Oh yeah, you see the flashback to
Order 66, which is interesting. So we can place Grogu, somewhere within the Jedi system with Order 66. So he's assuming he's on Coruscant in the Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
At that point, I in the back of my head, I thought we were going to see Anakin. Yeah, as part of this, which would have been, I don't know, that would have been interesting.
But how would he let him live? That's the problem.
Well, how does he live now? That's what you know what I mean? How does he live now? Pretty good. He's pretty comfortable, right? Gets carried around.
Yeah.
All the frogs he could eat. But yeah, we see that he was there. We don't see what I think. Yeah, this is how because we get the flashback, and then Grogu essentially passes out and wakes up by the river.
Yeah.
That's when I think Luke pulls out the ball and is just like, okay.
Yeah.
And
is this the same ball we see is this the same space ball we see in the Millennium Falcon?
I don't know. I'm hoping that not. I'm hoping it's like a million of these, because
you would think.
Yeah. Well, because then otherwise it would have to make its way back onto the Millennium Falcon before the Force Awakens. And I'm assuming that these are just commonplace. It's like a Nerf football or something like that.
Well, speaking of that, I was wondering if we were going to see a wee Adam Driver, because he would be, I guess, about 5 years old at this time, according to.
Not quite, right? Isn't this just 5 years after Jedi? Oh yeah, This is 5 years about after Return of the Jedi. So he would have been. So that he happens pretty soon after Return of the Jedi, right?
Because Luke says, "Oh, you'll be my first student."
Yeah.
So at this point, he is not training Adam Driver Jr. or any other. I guess Even though it's been 5 years, he has not come across a single student worthy of being trained.
Yeah, born 5 ABY on Chandrila, so he's born around now.
Well, no, that's after the Battle of Yavin.
Oh, after the Battle of Yavin, right.
So this is like 10 years after. This is like 10 ABY.
Right. Yeah, wait. Battle of Endor happens in, everybody loves when 4 ABY. So
yeah.
Okay. Right. So this is, all right.
So no Adam Driver yet.
So no, but maybe that'll be, near the end.
Yeah.
There's still room for that.
Will they do that kind of Austin Power Love Guru thing where they have a kid and then they put Adam Driver's adult head on a kid's body to make it look like a young Adam Driver?
And then it's going to be like look who's talking kind of a thing where they're just going to have their Luke using his robot hand to force lift things when he lifts all the frogs out of the pond, which the living force, like you're the forces of energy field created by all living things. Like, don't torture the frogs. Like, if you're just going to lift them up out of they're freaking out. It's like tapping on the glass at the aquarium or something like that. Like, I know you're trying to make a point, but don't lift all the frogs out of the thing and then drop them back in the pond, Luke. You're just showing off at that point, and you're not. But no, I like how it's a similar. It's like poetry, right? What Luke wanted the most on Dagobah is to get his ship out so he could get out of there, pretty much. And what Grogu's motivation is food always, and so he wants the frog. And then Luke shows you, all right, well, with the Force, you can get all the frogs. And he was like, oh, okay, I get you now.
Explain. With Force, you can get many frogs.
Yeah.
Luke says you should have started eating them.
Right.
Lined them all up and just have them go down his gullet.
Here's where I wrote fantasy speech patterns, so I'm not sure what. Maybe this is where Ahsoka shows up to talk to the Mandalorian, but Ahsoka Tano, everybody. Then Grogu in the backpack.
Grogu in the backpack. Well, this is where she says, "Oh, you're so much like your father."
Yeah, that's like my next note.
And Luke was just like, I was surprised that didn't kind of get some kind of like. She knows what happened to Darth Vader, right? So saying, you know what, you're just like your father who ended up killing all those children. Like, it seems like like that would be like a delicate subject to bring up around Luke. But I would imagine.
I think she's the only person qualified to say that, basically, because she knows him. She knew him extensively as pre-Darth Vader.
Anakin, you mean?
Anakin, yeah,
right.
So she knew Anakin as Anakin better than most people. Like Obi-Wan and Ahsoka could say, "Oh, you're kind of like Anakin." You know what I mean?
But does Ahsoka think that Luke's going to take that as a compliment or a? I understand. Yes. Like, she knew. It's almost like if it seems presumptuous on Ahsoka's part.
Well, but remember that Luke's whole thing is his clinging to that image of his absent father. And then, desperately wanting Darth Vader to be that enough so that he can turn him back to being, no, you're Anakin Skywalker, you're my dad, you're the dad that I always wanted. And then Anakin is eventually like, all right, fine. Like, that's my take on it.
He wore him down. All right, fine. He throws the effort. That's what he should. Are you happy now?
And so I think to Luke that matter, to anybody else, if she were to say to somebody else, again, it's all contextual. If this was anybody else saying it, it would be different. And if it was Ahsoka saying it to somebody else, being like, he's a lot like Anakin Skywalker, they'd be like, what are you talking about? But for him to say that to Luke, I think Luke takes that as a compliment, because it's like, that's all Luke wanted. That's all Luke. Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, Luke's, got that. That's his whole kind of thing. Is like he discovered that his missing father was a magical hero.
So he's happy. So I don't know. It's weird, but Luke anyway. But it's also like that fantasy thing where Luke does not really react to what she says.
Right.
Like, whereas in a real life situation, I feel like that's what someone would do.
And then they all part ways, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Ahsoka's going off to do something else. Will I ever see you again?
Maybe Force. If you subscribe to Disney Plus.
Obi-Wan's first.
Yeah,
that's what she should have said.
Right. Let me check the calendar.
The Force prophesies that once Obi-Wan returns, only then can Ahsoka have her own series.
Right.
That is right. Obi-Wan's first, right?
I think so. Yeah. Oh. Obi-Wan and Captain Cashews are both, I think, before the Ahsoka show.
That's surprising. I'm surprised because I would have thought that while they have this, that they would be like.
Right.
I assume they were filming this simultaneously with the Ahsoka show on the lot next door at the same time, but we'll see. Yeah, so we leave Jedi Planet, head back to Tatooine.
He doesn't get to, he has this whole, again, this will come up again because it's the crux of the end of the episode, but this annoying, Jedi can't, he's torn between two like obnoxious kind of dogma, too obnoxious, just kind of, like no reason, but like a Jedi can't have attachments, and also, Mandalorian have to do this. Like, Jedi have to do this, Mandalorians have to do this, and we're not gonna, there's no real why to it, and it's gonna interfere with your life, but you have to do this or you have to do this, like, and so like it's like, well,
so life is
you're gonna bring him I wanted to bring him a present. Well, you can't see him because Jedi have to do this. So if you want, is that you it's like a, I don't know, like picture instead of the the Jedi Temple, picture this is the Church of Scientology. Like Mandalorian shows up to see his this kid that he dropped off there, that he essentially adopted for a while, and they're like, wow, you can't really talk to him.
Yeah.
Like, well, I brought him this present. Like, okay, we can give it to him, but like, if you talk to him, it's really going to interfere with his studies.
Next time he comes to visit, Ahsoka's wearing a very tiny half shirt made out of
right.
Beskar. What? I had this already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that that Luke went with the whole no attachment things, especially considering that turned out to be such a colossal failure the first time around. Why would he stick with that, I wonder?
Oh, well, that's the very end. We'll the very end of the episode, we have to talk about that again. I want to really land on that, but I did. I'm sorry. Yeah. So, and instead of getting to see him, he just kind of drops off his prison and leaves.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to this is where he shows up to visit Cobb Vanth, and he's just like, "Hey, Cobb Vanth, remember me from season 1 of my show?" Or season 2 of my show, was that?
Well, first he goes back and they had a little meeting with the crew because she's like, well, we have 6 of us now, but we need like foot soldiers, and that's when he's like, right. I know some people who can go, because we see the mods there, and I just want to comment on the fact that I know I've generally been kind of anti-mod, but one thing I will say is, and this is something I've been saying for years, is that typically in Star Wars, people with prosthetics are evil.
Right.
You got General Grievous, you got Darth Vader, you got, I'm sure there's other people.
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker, Spider Legs, Darth Maul. So this is I'm glad that they are now taking these are, I guess, theoretically good guys who have prosthetic devices. So good for you guys
there you go.
For it being more inclusive and all that stuff. Yes. Then he goes to see Cobb Vanth and says, "Hey, Cobb Vanth, let's dance."
And there's a little bit of I love that he's, if you like if you go on vacation or something and you try to slightly assimilate the local either accent or at least the kind of the vocal either the vocal rhythm or at least the lingo, the local lingo, and he shows up and it's a drastic switch. He's like, okay, I was in Fantasyland, so I had to talk like that. Now I'm in Cowboy Land. So he's like, oh, where's your little friend? He's like, he's back with his own folk. And it's like, it's like this code shifting, code switching of like, oh, okay, well now I'm talking to cowboys, so I have to use this dialect. Whereas before I was
you switch to cowboy mode,
right?
Like flutes and.
Yahoo, Cobb Vanth, how you doing? Whoa, turn it down.
I say, old chap. Oh, I seem to be in a murder mystery at the moment. Also, shout out to the Jawa, the Sandcrawler with the giant skull on it from the Krayt Dragon. That's a cool. And these guys clearly still recognize the Mandalorian. They're all excited to see him, or just the ship at least. They're like, "Hey, it's a cool ship. We should go steal that later."
Right. That's what they're cheering. They're cheering for, like, look at all those parts. But presumably they might. I don't know. Maybe it's yeah.
And I also like that the bar now they have. I assume this is only since the Krayt Dragon was blown up. I don't remember seeing it the first time, but now the bar has the giant rib inside the bar. They have the giant rib bones, kind of like you're dining inside the belly of the Krayt Dragon. I thought that was a cool aesthetic choice.
Yeah.
So he tries to convince Cobb Vanth, tries to make him see that he's part of a symbiont circle, that what happens to Mos Eisley will affect them here.
Right.
And he's like, well, let me talk to the folk. Let me talk to the simple farmers who make up the...
Right. And that doomed, like, the deputy who shows up, and you're like, he's maybe he'll outlive this episode, but maybe not. And turns out it doesn't. He doesn't, it looks like.
Is he somebody famous?
I don't
or
think
the son
so. I don't
of somebody famous?
Look him up. But yeah, it's like, he's the greenhorn kind of, like the trigger happy deputy who's just kind of, starts out giving the Mandalorian a hard time, and then he's like, I got this one. And then he talks him through, and then that guy's gonna come to a bad end. So he talks to him, but the town doesn't. They're not into it. Free town, right? Free town, free city. What are they called now?
Freeport,
Bricktown, Roosevelt on the map. Yeah, they are no longer Mos Pelgo internally. They're free. They're free town. And they are they're not into kind of being a part of this whole thing. They don't want it's not their problem, essentially. It's like, one of them says, like, that's the problem for city folk, and we're townspeople.
On the one hand, I think it's odd that they say we're Freetown now, because I don't remember that being anything with their plot. Like, it's not like they were under the thumb of.
They were, right? That was. Oh no, they were.
It was the Krayt Dragon. That was. So. Like, now we're finally free, but I also like that it could be referring to a totally political situation which we knew nothing about. So now he's like, now we're Freetown. I'm like, what does that have to do with Krayt Dragon? It has nothing to do with the Krayt Dragon. We have lives beyond what you just see in the 10 minutes that you're here, Mandalorian.
Right.
And speaking of people with lives, this is the live-action debut of the much-demanded Filoni-verse character, Cad Bane.
Yeah, and this is where I started to get grumbly, because I'm like, then I look back, I'm like, oh, and that's the name of the episode is From the Desert Comes a Stranger, and the whole thing is just like check it out, you're gonna love it. I'm like, when they're doing all the stuff, and then like from out of the desert comes like my D&D character, like, and it's totally like this, like, I get that he's in a lot of stuff that people like, and I get, but like outside of that, just having this quote unquote badass, show up to do this thing, it makes sense with the story, but the way that they, to have somebody show up and do exactly what he does, to be like, hey, look, like, we'll pay you double, all you got to do is
stay out,
not do anything, stay out of it, and then remind them that that the Pike are in control. That is a necessary bit, but the way that it's just like minutes of like looking at him off in the distance getting bigger, and then like making this whole big reveal out of it, just smacks to me as like and making it the name of the episode. Again, there wasn't much of a theme. The episode is a little bit all over the place. I enjoyed all the things, but it was a little all over the place, and still we're having the problem with, it's not the Boba Fett show, but we're, if this was just, they almost might be better off just being like the Star Wars show, and then these would be different arcs, different seasons within it, and then that would be fine. So you're not, it's like you don't have to have like this and then this and then it's just like, okay, Star Wars is on TV every Wednesday.
Yeah.
And
Boba Fett doesn't have to be in every episode of his show.
Right. And, you know, it's nitpicking because whatever, we're still getting the same entertainment. But like, if you just have like there's a certain expectation that you built up this, you know, like as much as we were not complaining about it, but you know, we were just kind of like, where is this going? What is he doing for the first? What Boba Fett's story was almost starting to come together by the end of episode 4, and then it's just like, oh, you know what? Here's 2 episodes of something else.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody on the internet, I believe it was one of our Patreon supporters, said they felt a little bit like the Terrence and Phillip holiday special, where it's like the South Park they'd built up, like who is Cartman's father, and then the season finale was just kind of like, instead we're gonna do this, and it's like, all right, well, as much as that's enjoyable, like weren't we doing something here? And yeah, I don't have a problem with Cad Bane showing up here. I think that he's relatively well done for a physical.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. If you're taking out the baggage of being an EU character who's now going to be
right
a thing, I thought I'm assuming it's a mask with maybe a CGI mouth.
Yeah, I think it's like a combo, right?
And I'm guessing it's the same guy who did the voice in the because he definitely sounds like he's a guy in a recording studio, not someone there saying the dialogue.
Right.
But I thought he looked cool.
Yeah.
A little cartoony because he had that bright, like his skin looks a little cartoony. Like in the bright sunlight there. But he's a green alien, so what can you do? And better him than Mara Jade.
Yeah. I don't know. Is it the?
All right, better him than Jason Solo. How about that?
Yeah, all right. I'm with you on that one. I'm looking at the just behind the scene stuff, and yeah, I think it is. It's the same, which is a good, the
voice actor, you mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it totally makes sense for this character to be there for that. Like, this is what I'm saying, but like again, I think it's the way that it's. And again, I'm for me, I'm not saying it shouldn't be this way, but for me, it seems like it's there, like it's treated like almost the same way as like Luke Skywalker reveal in the end of The Mandalorian, where it's just kind of like you see and you get enough time to be like, oh, is that him? Is that, and you and you picture people getting excited for it, but like I'm also picturing my in-laws watching this and being like, what, like
Like, you don't think just from the context they would just think, oh, this is just like a badass guy?
No,
that's setting him up as the.
It could have gone that way, and it should have. It makes sense within that, but this.
I think they do an okay job of setting him up outside. You don't need to necessarily have seen any of that to know that he's like the new bad guy in town.
Yeah, it's not, but like just the sheer gravitas, the sheer import given to like his reveal was a little bit like, all right, he's not Luke Skywalker,
right?
He's not a beloved character that like
you knew Luke
people
Skywalker
on the street know. Yeah,
he is no Luke Skywalker.
And he is, he's a character that the people who like this like, but also like I feel like it lost a little bit of the kind of like my complaint about the spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen Eternals, but the I won't spoil it. I'll say that the end, kind of the sting, the post-credit sequence from Eternals really was just kind of like, this is just too inside baseball at this point. And I know you can show people, you can bring this to people, but don't make it like a big reveal that this character that nobody's ever heard of is now part of the whole story. You know what I mean? Like,
well, now you need to do a little bit of. Cad Bane is in the Eternals?
Yeah, Cad Bane is in the Eternals. Spoilers.
Disney, man, they own everything now.
And he breaks Batman's back. It's crazy. Multiverse.
I'll get you, Cape Crusader.
Sorry, talk. But it's just like the import given to his appearance seems outsized and it's gonna lose some people. Not that it lost me, but I felt like, okay, like I get it, who he is, but like to kind of build it up as this, I don't know, it seemed too built up to me to be just the character for this plot. That if you're not following along, if you're not watching all the stuff, then you're gonna be like, well, I like I hate it when my in-laws come back to me and they're just like, well, that seemed to be built up towards somebody who, that character that I must not have known who they were. You know what I mean? Like they get a little bit lost from it, which is, there's a certain amount of, you don't need to spoon feed everything, but there's a certain amount of just kind of the way that that's
casual viewers.
Yeah, and not just with Star Wars, with Marvel, with a lot of this other stuff. Like if they're kind of following along and they're doing a great job, they're doing more than most people, and they're more receptive and more knowledgeable than a lot of people probably.
Well, no one likes feeling
of the circle watching this, but they feel left out by some of this stuff because it's just like, well, wait, what? And you can totally introduce the character, but you have to give them a tiny bit of. Don't make it seem like they're missing out, which is what this seems like. It seems like once he shows up, everybody's like, "Oh, dip! Here comes that guy!" And everybody, and if you don't know who that is, you have to be like, "Oh, okay, I guess it's just some guy that he must have been in a lot of stuff that I didn't see, and now I'm disconnected from this."
Right. Yeah, it's always the risk you take when you do stuff that caters to the hardcore people. That casual people will be left out of the fun. So
right. But I don't think you have to. That's what I'm saying. I think there's a way to do it that won't exclude them, which obviously, to the same point, those same viewers have been, introduced to a lot of characters and they've been like, oh, okay, like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy was in other stuff. Like that's what you should be. You should be like, oh, that guy was in a bunch of other stuff. Cool. And then that encourages you to go check that out if you like that character. But the huge difference between, I don't know who that is. I feel like I'm missing out. Therefore, I'm not as into the show as I once was because it's not for me. Versus, oh, cool. There's more stuff to check out with this person.
Yeah,
like Black Chrysanthemum within this arc. Perfect. Introduced in such a way that it's like, okay, that's this, this Wookiee. That fits the their point in the plot is clear, and then you go look them up later and you find, oh, cool, they were in a bunch of other stuff. Great, I'm gonna go look that up. But this, I don't know, to me seems like it was built up to be like, if you don't know who this is, you're missing out, which is not. That's not how we play.
Speaking of playing, you know who was playing? Those poor folks at the casino.
Yeah.
Because after all this time, the casino gets blown up.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like, do we assume that Jennifer Beals is deceased now? Or is she going to come stumbling out of the rubble in the next episode?
Well,
it's just amusing, but also baffling that the fact that they took so much time setting up this casino and it had nothing to do with anything.
Right.
So, like, although I do give them credit for not including the Max Rebo puppet this time around because that's
what I was going to say. We're going to have another, like, is this Miracle Max Rebo somehow survives to play another day?
He's got 9 lives, that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it's because they were allied essentially with Boba Fett's faction.
He did go there several times to be told to go talk to the mayor, so that's
right.
I could see why they would.
Right, and it seems like they chose to align themselves with him.
Also, speaking of which, they have the Major Domo in the planning session with them.
Right.
What? Why would you have that guy in your planning session?
I was happy to see him, and he was in chains.
Yeah.
So he's a prisoner, but then he's also like they need his help for, just he's privy to a lot of structural planetary information.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And I love that he chimes in
defend the mayor.
Well, he's still doing his thing. Like I like seeing him. I was like, oh cool, that guy's there. And then he's like, and like Mayor McCheese has left the planet, and he's like, it was a scheduled vacation, like doing his pure exactly that, which I love.
Spin.
And yeah, so then they're like, all right, we've got a plan. We're gonna get some people, and we have to take out the Pikes, and that's the same place where we were 2 episodes ago is where we're at now, except the Mandalorian's there. Mandalorian's in the room as opposed to just being referred to.
And we learned how the Mandalorian got his ship, and we learned what Grogu is up to, and what Luke is up to, and all that.
And then we end with child abuse, in that Luke is just sets up. He's like you can choose mommy or you can choose me, basically, and like sets out. He's like, okay, well your friend brought you this, and you can have that, or this was really important to me, and this is what we're doing here. So, or you can have that, but you can only choose one. And it's like the awful, like such a jerk move, and I hate it. It's so like that's how you create evil, kind of maniacs.
Yeah.
Like why not just like let him have the shirt, and you don't necessarily have to say that it was from anything. Just being like, okay, here's your training outfit. Wear this shirt. It's lightsaber proof. Great. Like, why not have, and let him do, or like, and again, the attachment thing, which came back to bite them. Like, why are they still leaning into that? And B, like, this is not how you do that with essentially a child. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's I don't know. As much like I said, I like seeing Luke's imperfect arc.
Yeah.
But this just drives me crazy because it seems like completely illogical.
Setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. And like I can't imagine in which, like, even if you're doing the no attachments thing, completely different ways to do that than allowing essentially a toddler to be put in that situation.
It is strange, and it's weird given that in Star Wars, in the original, and when I say Star Wars, of course I mean A New Hope, that in that one, Luke wanted to be a Jedi more than anything. He just wanted to get the heck out of there and go out and have adventures. And in the prequels, we learned that Anakin was kind of a different thing. It was almost like he was kind of not tricked exactly, but it didn't seem like he had much choice in the matter.
Well, he does. He's pretty enthusiastic about it, but again, as an 8-year-old, so it's
right. But that's what I mean. But like, do you think if you had said to Anakin, "Oh, you're gonna leave now. You're never gonna see your mother again," no child would possibly choose that. No child is gonna say, "Yes, I'm gonna give up my." No 8-year-old, I imagine, is gonna say, "Yes, I'm gonna give up my family to go live with a bunch of space karate teachers."
Right.
And obviously, it seriously messed up Anakin because he became obsessed with it. So here it's weird that Luke is almost like halving. Like, I'll give him a choice, but he's not being forced into it. So I don't know. It's a very strange. And also, what kid is not going to pick a lightsaber over a shirt?
Right.
You know what I mean? Luke really did the smart thing. Like, here's this bright, glowy object which you can use to destroy things, or you can have this. It's a new shirt. Don't you like it? Look, it's metal and heavy.
Your friend brought you socks and underwear, but I brought you this lightsaber, this lollipop that glows. And
I mean, Luke does make a point of mentioning that that Grogu does seem very fixated on the Mandalorian. So maybe part of him knows, like, he's almost like too old. Like, it's basically he literally he's like a 50-year-old creature. So it's But yes, both surprised Luke did the no attachments thing.
Yeah. And so, like, and again, if you're going to do it differently,
Pull That's what I imagine. He
kill the Mandalorian and just be like, hey, it's strange that your friend isn't back yet, but at least we have training, huh?
It seems like I'm surprised the Mandalorian did not make a pitch to either Luke or Ahsoka to come help him with his thing.
I think he knew that wasn't going to be.
You don't think that?
Yeah.
And also, I should point out that I'm so glad that after last week's episode, there was some speculation on the internet that when the armorer was like, you really need to learn how to use that Darksaber. And then I was like, oh my gosh, and then people were saying, oh, maybe he'll go to Luke for training. And I was like, and this got close to it. I was like, oh my gosh, we really are going to see it. But thankfully, it did not come to pass that way.
Yeah.
At least not yet. I think next time they're going to do the Book of Luke Skywalker for a 6-episode series, 3 of which will be about the Mandalorian.
It's going to Jedi Academy.
Yeah.
The series. And then it's going to be like, wait, why? Cobb Vanth? What? It's going to be a couple of episodes snuck in there of something else.
Yeah.
They go to visit a radio station in Cleveland or whatever.
I love Cleveland.
Yeah. So it that really.
Do you think the next episode will have Grogu showing up with his lightsaber to help fight?
I thought that.
Also, I wonder how Luke.
I hope that doesn't happen.
I wonder how Luke got Yoda's lightsaber. Is this the same lightsaber that he had is this the lightsaber he used to fight Darth Sidious, or is this a lightsaber he built after?
Well, when he goes into exile, he still has it, right?
I think he loses it during the fight. His robe and his lightsaber, I think he loses. Remember, he's still hanging from
right
stuff. I don't think he has his lightsaber.
I barely remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure some nerd will have looked it up, and the answer is already there. Maybe Luke bought it on eBay afterwards.
I was also, I mean, as much as I like that, this is Yoda's lightsaber, that, totally makes sense. Well,
he wanted you to have it when you were old enough.
Right. Then, but it also makes me think, like, does Luke have does he have like a lightsaber closet or something? Does he have like a drawer full of like?
Well, he keeps them in his cape.
Well, there you go.
Like Grievous.
If a different kind of, if a different alien would show up, would he have been like, well,
like a Plo Koon
this
type.
is Kit Fisto's lightsaber. Yeah. You can. But I am a little bit disappointed that it was that and not. Well, I'm disappointed that at first I was like, oh, is it a youngling lightsaber, like a training lightsaber, like a nerfed kind of, one that you can do without. But then also like the.
You thought it was going to be his stick.
It's better than bacon. I'm also a little bit disappointed that we don't get to see a new thing. You know what I mean? Like the line between, nostalgia and kind of callbacks and expanding the world. Like I was like, oh, we get to see a new lightsaber for the first time. But I guess that would be Grogu's choice Grogu's choice. That's what I. He'll get to build his own lightsaber. That's the part of his training. But so I guess he would have to use this. It makes sense, but I was like, oh, we get to see a new lightsaber because I'm always interested in what that.
You're always excited for new lightsabers.
Yeah. And then he lit it and it was green, and as much as I like green lightsabers, I'm just like, is that? It's like, hey, it's green like you. Is that racist? I don't know.
But that's how you say it, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're like, it's green like you, then that's positive. It's green like you, then it becomes racist.
Hey, you guys, a green lightsaber for you, greenie.
Everyone gets whatever color most close matches their skin tone.
Right. That's like the Star Wars Colors Instagram. They do a little sample of it.
Well, there you go. The penultimate episode, the penultimate chapter in the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like we're that close to the end, but I guess we are. So we'll see what
any predictions as to what's going to happen? Who will fight Cad Bane? Will it be Boba Fett? You would think.
Maybe. I don't know.
It is his book. It would be disappointing if the Mandalorian. I could totally see the Mandalorian fighting him but it seems like it'd be kind of anticlimactic for the Book of Boba Fett to have with 2 characters fighting who aren't Boba Fett. Although that is on model for Boba Fett. It'll end with him being thrown back into a Sarlacc pit. Just
within the first 5 minutes of the next episode, he just gets knocked out and falls into a Sarlacc pit, or he gets
trampled by a bantha.
Oh right, we have to. Boba Fett's going to ride the Rancor. I forgot that was set up.
Yeah.
The people of Muspelgo, Freetown, are going to rise up and help out. Tusken Warrior Princess, I'm still fingers crossed.
I thought he was going to recruit the Jawas for his army.
That'd be interesting.
So
they might show up to help. Like it might be literally everybody, everybody chips in a little bit.
Yeah.
And they rid the town of the Pike Syndicate, rid the planet of the Pike Syndicate, which seems unlikely. They would just go to a different spot, and I don't know. But I guess if they to make it worth their while, they have to go visit the cities to do trading and stuff, and so that they have their, like you said, they have their agreements, and there aren't a lot of cities or towns on Tatooine. Remember, there's limited.
4.
So if they can just stop them from doing business in the towns, it's not worth it at all for them to.
Mos Espa, Mos Eisley, Freetown, and Anchorhead.
Anchorhead is just a little, it's like a shopping center.
Anchorhead Plaza Mall.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully you're still with us. You're enjoying it. We're anxious to see how this all turns out, what it sets up. I think it'll just lead directly. They'll be like, and then coming soon, season 3 of Book of Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably get at least one surprise in there.
You want to make a prediction? Now that Cad Bane is in it, I feel like my Bosk prediction is less likely.
Yeah. Well, that's when they went back to the table and they were like, all right, here's the plan. Like, I was disappointed in that there was no new muscle there. It was just like, oh, here's everybody that we... She's like, how much money do we have? Like, we can get a lot of muscle for that kind of money. And then it's like, the only muscle that you got was Boba Fett. It was Mandalorian. Like, you didn't go hire anybody else, like, besides the people that we've already met. Like, I feel like they could do more there.
It does seem like if it's a battle for the planet, you need more than just a dozen. A dozen from Mos Espa.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting to see what happens. I think it'll be an all-out battle episode, which are usually not my favorite, but I want to see how it all turns out.
Yeah.
So, on that note, I guess we'll meet you guys here next week for the finale. You have a week to prepare. Then hopefully you're enjoying this show. If you remember, if you are, we have Patreon, StarWarsMinute.com/Patreon. We'll get you to our Patreon page where you can get our weekend show. Every weekend we do
It's true.
2 shows. We do one on Saturday, one on Sunday, for our Patreon supporters for different levels. And then after the Book of Boba Fett ends, before too long, we'll be back with our coverage of Solo, Star Wars Party.
Solo.
So get psyched, get ready. And we will see you next week for the finale of Star Wars Minute presents the Book of Boba Fett from Star Wars Minute.
Book of Boba Fett.